The little boy's hands trembled as he held out 3 wrinkled $1 bills and quietly asked if he could pay tomorrow because his mother hadn't eaten in 2 days. I had heard excuses before, but something in his eyes made my heart stop. I slid the last apple pie across the counter without charging him, never imagining that one simple act would return weeks later wrapped in tears, gratitude, and a confession that would change both of our lives forever. If you believe kindness always finds its way home, please like this video, leave a comment, share this story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so we can continue sharing emotional journeys that remind us the smallest acts of compassion can transform lives. Every morning in the small town of Willow Creek began the same way. The scent of fresh bread drifted through the streets long before the shops opened, and by 8 o'clock the sidewalks were filled with teachers carrying coffee, construction workers grabbing sandwiches, retired neighbors exchanging stories, and children laughing as they hurried toward school. My little bakery sat on the corner across from the public library, and although it wasn't the biggest business in town, it had become a place where people found more than pastries. They found warmth, conversation, and sometimes the comfort of being seen. My name was Graham Mercer, and I had spent nearly 15 years rebuilding my life after losing my wife to an illness that arrived too quickly and stole too much. Grief had taught me that loneliness often hid behind ordinary smiles. Since then, I tried never to judge anyone by appearances because I understood how invisible pain could become. That Wednesday looked no different from any other. The display cases shimmered with cinnamon rolls, blueberry muffins, fresh sourdough loaves, and the last homemade apple pie resting beneath its glass cover. Business had been steady, and I was already thinking about preparing dough for the following morning when the front door opened slowly. A small boy, no older than 8, stepped inside wearing sneakers that had been repaired with gray tape. His oversized sweatshirt looked washed so many times that the color had almost disappeared. He stared at the pie with a mixture of hope and embarrassment that no child should ever have to wear. He approached the counter carefully, counting folded bills over and over before finally lifting his eyes toward me. His voice barely rose above a whisper as he explained that his mother loved apple pie because it reminded her of happier days, but they didn't have enough money today. He asked if he could bring the rest tomorrow. I knew many customers by name, but I had never seen him before. Instead of answering immediately, I looked into his eyes. They weren't pleading. They were apologizing. Children shouldn't apologize for being hungry. Without another word, I boxed the pie, added 2 sandwiches, fresh rolls, and a container of soup that had just come off the stove. I pushed everything across the counter and gently told him tomorrow could take care of itself. The boy blinked several times before tears escaped despite his effort to hide them. He thanked me over and over until he finally hurried away, clutching the warm box against his chest as though it contained something priceless. After he left, I watched through the front window as he disappeared around the corner. For the rest of the afternoon, I couldn't stop wondering about him. The following day, just before lunch, the same boy returned carrying an envelope. He placed it carefully on the counter. Inside were $4, every cent he still owed. I smiled and told him he could have kept it. He shook his head with surprising determination. His mother had taught him that debts should always be repaid, even when someone shows kindness. Then he quietly added that she had cried when she saw the food because it was the first full meal either of them had enjoyed all week. Before leaving, he introduced himself as Owen. For the next several weeks, Owen became a familiar face. Sometimes he stopped by simply to say hello after school. Sometimes I slipped him an extra cookie, pretending I had baked too many. He always thanked me with the kind of sincerity adults often forget. Eventually I learned that his mother, Meredith, had recently lost her job after the manufacturing company she worked for closed unexpectedly. Medical bills from caring for Owen's late grandfather had emptied their savings. She spent every day applying for work while trying to shield her son from the growing fear inside their tiny apartment. One Saturday afternoon, the bakery became unusually busy. A customer collapsed near the entrance after experiencing dizziness. Before anyone else reacted, a woman rushed forward from outside and calmly checked his pulse while instructing another customer to call emergency services. Her steady confidence immediately settled the panic spreading through the room. Only after the paramedics arrived did I recognize her from a photograph Owen had once shown me. It was Meredith. She explained she had worked as an emergency medical technician years earlier before changing careers to support her aging father. The customer recovered safely, and before leaving, Meredith thanked everyone for remaining calm. As she turned toward the door, our eyes met for the first time. She recognized me. Immediately, her expression filled with gratitude that words seemed unable to express. She thanked me for helping her son when pride had nearly kept her from accepting anyone's kindness. She admitted she hadn't wanted Owen asking strangers for help, but desperation had finally overcome embarrassment. I told her no mother should ever feel ashamed for fighting to feed her child. From that afternoon forward, Meredith occasionally stopped by while dropping off job applications around town. Sometimes we shared coffee during her lunch break. Sometimes Owen completed homework at a corner table while we talked about ordinary things that somehow carried extraordinary honesty. She spoke openly about losing confidence after months of rejection. I admitted that grief had once convinced me my happiest days were already behind me. Neither of us tried to fix the other's pain. We simply listened. Weeks passed. Spring slowly painted Willow Creek with blooming flowers and warmer afternoons. One morning, the owner of a nearby medical clinic entered the bakery searching for volunteers to help organize a community health fair. Remembering Meredith's experience as an EMT, I mentioned her name. She accepted immediately. Her professionalism impressed everyone involved. Within days, the clinic offered her a full-time position coordinating patient outreach and emergency preparedness. The smile Owen wore when he learned his mother had steady work again filled the entire bakery with joy. Life gradually settled into a peaceful rhythm. Meredith no longer visited because she needed help, she visited because she wanted company. Some afternoons she brought homemade lemonade, other days she surprised me with flowers she picked from the farmer's market. Neither of us rushed whatever was quietly growing between us. Our friendship rested on trust before affection. One warm afternoon, after closing early for equipment maintenance, we walked through the town park while Owen played catch with friends nearby. The breeze carried the scent of fresh grass, and children laughed beneath bright blue skies. Meredith stopped beside a flowering tree and looked at me with eyes filled not with uncertainty but with courage. She admitted that the day Owen came home carrying the pie, she believed the world had finally remembered her family existed. She had spent months feeling invisible, convinced everyone saw only failure whenever they looked at her. Watching her son describe the kindness of a stranger restored something she thought she had permanently lost. Then she smiled through tears. She quietly confessed that gratitude had slowly become admiration, admiration had become friendship, and somewhere along the way she had started wanting a future that included me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Some confessions deserve silence before answers. I gently took her hand and admitted something of my own. The bakery had once been only a place to survive another day after loss. She and Owen had unknowingly turned it back into a place where life felt possible again. Love hadn't arrived dramatically. It had risen quietly like bread in a warm kitchen, growing stronger each ordinary day until it could no longer be ignored. The months that followed brought changes neither of us expected. Owen began helping at the bakery on Saturday mornings, proudly arranging pastries in display cases and greeting regular customers by name. Meredith organized community food drives through the medical clinic, partnering with local businesses so struggling families could receive groceries without shame. Together we created a small tradition. Every Friday afternoon, one complete meal left the bakery with a handwritten note that simply read, "Tomorrow can wait." No names. No questions. No expectations, only kindness. Eventually other businesses joined. The florist donated bouquets, the bookstore offered children's books, the grocery store contributed fresh produce. A single free pie had quietly inspired an entire town to care for neighbors they had previously overlooked. Years later, people often asked how Meredith and I met. Some expected an elaborate romantic story. Instead, we always smiled at Owen before answering. Everything began because one hungry little boy believed honesty was worth more than pretending everything was fine. Everything continued because compassion refused to calculate profit. Everything flourished because hope grows fastest when shared. One sunny afternoon, during the annual Spring Festival, the mayor presented our bakery with a community service award. As applause filled the town square, I noticed Owen standing beside his mother with the same gentle smile he had worn the day he first entered my shop. He wasn't the frightened child clutching $3 anymore. He had grown into a confident young man who volunteered at shelters and dreamed of becoming a paramedic so he could help families during their hardest moments. Looking at him, I realized kindness doesn't simply solve today's problem. It quietly shapes tomorrow's character. Before we reach the end of this story, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a meaningful comment and tell us about a moment when someone's unexpected kindness changed your life or inspired you to help someone else. Your story might become the encouragement another person desperately needs today. As the afternoon sun poured through the bakery windows, customers laughed, neighbors shared pie around outdoor tables, children chased one another across the sidewalk, and Meredith reached for my hand with the quiet confidence that comes from surviving life's hardest seasons together. We had discovered that love rarely arrives looking for perfection. It usually appears disguised as compassion, patience, forgiveness, and one simple decision to help another person without expecting anything in return. The little boy who once whispered that he could pay tomorrow had unknowingly given all of us something far more valuable than money. He reminded us that hope is often served one generous choice at a time, and that hearts willing to give freely are the ones that receive life's greatest blessings. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. May we all remember that the smallest act of kindness can become the beginning of someone else's happiest ending.